It's like a palette, like a painter uses a palette. There's so many things that have to be investigated for us to transform. There's not just one thing that you do to transform, because there's so much in the human psyche and in spirituality that it can't be fixed with one thing. We have to actually walk into therapy or AA, but it's hard. So no one wants to do that unless there's something inside of us, like a knowing that we need this.
Hello and welcome. Welcome to Pernilla. Welcome to myself.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, but we need to greet ourselves. I mean, I greet you, you greet me, we greet all the people who's listening. It's a lot of things to listen to. We're grateful that you listen to our podcast, right?
Yeah.
And I'm happy that you dedicate your time, and you're happy I'm dedicate my time, and we're happy.
Yeah, we're happy.
We're happy. We are as happy as we can be right now. Shortly, if you're joining us for the first time, welcome to our podcast. It's the awakening process. Pernilla is the founder and the creator of this amazing website, Awakening 101, which is a spiritual library where you can actually just open up freely. And I would almost guarantee you find everything you're looking for there. We should just tap into today's topic. I mean, each of our podcasts has different topics, and sometimes we do the same topic, but it's never the same content. Of course, it could rely a little bit on each other, but they are all self-contained episodes. And today, the theme would be healing subconsciousness, right?
No, it's healing subconscious patterns is a
pattern. Okay,
is a blog I wrote. Did you read the blog?
I read the blog.
Okay,
I read the blog is on your site. But not everybody who's listening might have read the blog. So we're going to tap in a little bit into that.
The summary of what it's about is about the fact that the process of healing, the way I discovered it, was that there's not just one thing that you can do in order to transform yourself, or transform, that's a stupid word, but there's not just one thing that needs to...
I love that word. I mean, okay. I don't like...
Transform.
I don't like it the way you say it there. Transformation.
No. Transformation. Yeah, but in all seriousness, there's not just one thing that you do to transform. I think, and that's an important factor, because there's so much in the human psyche and in spirituality that it can't be fixed with one thing. So, I mean, that's the whole point of the article, is like, yeah, you fix addiction with AA and recovery, and then you start understanding who you are and aspects of yourself and the patterns that created your need to do drugs and why you did them and what was behind the emotions that made you feel a certain way in order to even think about trying to numb those feelings. I mean, it's a domino effect of reasons why people do use drugs, right? So once you've dealt with that, then you go to the next thing, which for me might have been like therapy or yoga. And yoga is the thing that like calms your mind in a way where you start seeing even more patterns and you're able to let them go. And so I guess I'm just doing like a short summary of like, there's so many things. It's like a palette, like a painter uses a palette. There's so many things that have to be investigated for us to transform. And it's not, I hope that people don't think about it as work. Oh, more of this stuff. For me, it's always been a curiosity and a sort of like determination of discovery to understand why I do the things I do. So for me, it's always been a passion to go forward in life. Okay, I'm going to try this, I'm going to do this. And then somehow along the way, I go, oh, this is sort of the mix that for me, the recipe for me, that got me to this place where I am today. Am I babbling on now?
Yes, you do, actually. You're babbling on. We love each other. No, but I think we need to stop a little bit, because we need to, I mean, first of all, the theme of this podcast is the title of one of your blogs. And I think we need to stop already there. And you just said, I hope people don't think this like a heavy work. I mean, you lost me already. But life on life terms can be really shitty and really hard. And of course, that's why we might have a sex addiction, food
Yeah.
addiction,
Yeah.
alcohol, drugs, whatever we want, because
Yeah.
it's pretty rough to be a human being. We raised and born up in different circumstances. Some people have an easier life, some people have a more difficult life. But however, wherever you are, I think that when I read the blog, it's like to finding, without being Sherlock Holmes and investigate every little corner in your body or mind for the start of it. I think it's important to start back, like rewind back to okay, what brought me into the curiosity? Because you did not have this curiosity when you went into the first meeting in AA. You were in
That's not true
despair.
though.
Now, okay,
Yeah, but I did have curiosity
yeah,
from the beginning. Yeah.
but you did not have curiosity with awareness. You went in because
Yeah,
of the
that's true.
pain. You went in
Yeah.
because of the pain. Could be a motivation to change, and pain could be a motivation to be curious. But I mean, I would almost be able to put my hand on my heart and say that people that are searching for help in any 12-step program, if there is more motivation of pain than it is for curiosity, I
Yeah.
think.
And fear.
Yeah, but the fear is the
Yeah.
pain. The fear is
Yeah.
really, it's
Yeah.
so.
I
So
mean, I think, yeah, if you don't
so
have pain, why would you want to change?
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So the pain is the motivation to heal or to
Yeah,
change.
completely.
So just to rewind back to you writing the blog and because I mean, I would say that when you got this far in recovery, or if you got this far in the awakening process, you have read certain books and you do have a curiosity to learn more and to investigate more, because it is a deep level. Also, like when we talked about the inner child, I mean, I would say the healing subconscious pattern is kind of a little work, because it's not coming to you if you don't pay attention and go to therapy, go to yoga, do meditation, to really lift up your awareness and see, where do I need to heal,
Yeah.
right?
But I think that the awareness issue, I don't know that I had any awareness for a very, very long time. I just
No.
sort of did the next thing.
And that was the steps, right, for you?
No, it was a lot of things. I mean, it wasn't just AA. It was everything that I did up until maybe 10, 5 to 10 years ago were not done with awareness. Because they just were the next thing that came along that I was like, okay, I guess I need to go to therapy. Or when I went to Al-Anon for a year, and I did that with a lot of resistance because, when you're in recovery, you think that Al-Anon is silly, but it's not. And I learned so much from that. And that was 10 years ago. I went for a whole year. So I didn't do that with awareness. I just did it because of the pain, or I was forced to do it somehow, or it came my way. And I said, I had like an inner knowing that, oh, I should try this. The only reason I did it and I tried it is because I was able to sleep for 5 minutes because I
Mm.
needed to sleep. I love sleeping, you know that. And that's the only reason. I didn't have any idea that brain entrainment would completely change my life. So, but I guess that's also like this sort of the larger self, your soul that's sort of on a path with you.
Mm.
And when the circumstances, we talked about grace last time, when circumstances evolve in a certain way that they fall in line with a journey of transformation, and you jump on those circumstances like I did with Holosync and brain entrainment, that's because it's just part of your soul. Your limited self is the one that we're working on. The larger self is guiding you to have these things fall in line.
But may I ask one thing concerning all this
Yeah.
now?
All this
Because
nonsense.
no, definitely not. No, definitely not, my dear. I think it's lovely, and I think, but I don't see myself as that bright. I'm a hard cookie, or how do you say? I have a lot of
Yeah.
resistance. I'm not. I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm stupid, but I really try to find shortcuts to everything. And when the pain gets really big, it's motivation to change. And I want to come back again to the healing subconscious pattern, because healing, it's like you want to put this band-aid on your wound, and we want it to heal both physically or mentally or emotionally. And then
Hmm.
pattern, we also know that that's our habits, our way of doing things, our roadmap. So my question to this is that we all know about the healing, we all know about the pattern, but a person like me wonder, subconsciousness, why don't we start by healing our conscious patterns?
Yeah, but you do,
Mm.
right? I mean, you do. Everybody that comes into the program knows that they have a problem with something and there's a pattern that they need to fix. Or everybody that goes to therapy usually knows that something's not working in their life. So I think
Yeah,
that we
but
start
wait,
there.
we could go into the program, we could into the therapist, just wanted them to fix us.
Right, but at least that's something. At least then the consciousness that's on there is the knowing that you need to be fixed
Yeah,
somehow,
okay. Yes. Yes. Mm.
you know? And even if you don't exactly know what that
Yeah.
is, you still go. Um, and again, that's what I said, that's, I believe that that's our larger self, like our
Mm.
soul operating in our lives. Like the fact that we have actually walk into therapy, which is horribly boring in my opinion, or AA, which is a little bit more fun because at least you laugh at people's jokes and stuff. But it's hard. So no one wants to do that unless there's something inside of us, like a knowing that we need
Mm.
this. So for me, for example, going to the program, yeah, so you know that something's something's not working. Too many drugs,
Mm.
right? So that's a
Mm.
conscious issue that you have to
Mm.
break. And then as the years go by, and like I said, it's like you, for example, you start doing the four step, and in the four step, you actually start recognizing because you write down all your resentments in the four
Mm.
step, right? And then you have to go through this process where you look at why you have those resentments. Like, what is it within
Yeah,
me that
but
gets
when
irritated?
you said it sounds so clear, and I just have to say, like, I was definitely not so aware. I just did it because I had to do it. They told me to do that, but
Yeah,
I could not look
yeah,
back on the awareness and stuff like that.
yeah. And that's what I'm getting to. Like, I feel like once you start doing that,
Mm.
you have little glimpses, and I'm not saying like it's a whole day of like
Mm.
awareness. You have like a split
Mm.
second of awareness that something is underlying
Mm.
underneath the reason why I do this thing that I'm
Mm.
doing. For me, it came out mostly in like
Mm.
relationships with with men, with
Mm.
boys, dating and
Mm.
stuff. That's the first sort of really game changer four step that
Mm.
I did when I realized that like I have a huge part in everything that goes wrong.
Really? No, that would not.
And I literally had no idea. But then I sat there with my sponsor, I had 6 years sober, and was reading this thing. And I was like, the world stood still for just a split second when I was like, oh my God, it's me.
Yeah.
But you have that for a second. And then maybe you forget the next day that it's me and you do exactly the same thing again. But that's what I mean. Like healing these patterns over the time starts with it's just like awakening. It starts with little
Mm.
things that happen. In A, they talk about like peeling the layer of the
Mm.
onions, and that's exactly what happens. You just start with that, and then maybe the next thing that happens, which is therapy, and then you have more insights there, and then you start meditating, you have
Mm.
even more
Mm.
insights there. And after a while, like for me, there's enough space from the work that you've already
Mm.
done that you can actually, with awareness, identify the patterns that you
Yeah.
have. I mean, I can do that now, but it's taking me 20 to 25 years. Like I know what patterns I have and what are the fears I
Mm.
have. And I've worked on a lot of the other ones, and most of them are thankfully let go now. But um, I think everything begins with a little bit of consciousness because otherwise we wouldn't even end up in any scenario to try to fix
No.
anything. Otherwise, you would just like live your life and do the things that you do without
Yeah.
asking why.
But yeah,
So,
probably. No, but that.
like,
No, but I'm just thinking that healing the subconscious patterns, it's not a quick fix and it's a journey, right? Because we heal one pattern
mm,
and then there's another pattern. And you said that, a little bit of curiosity and the willingness to investigate things and see that I'm on my inner journey. That could be pretty exciting and also challenging, but that is also the outside world. Um, so I think that you said the fourth step in the program was one help of discovering the subconscious patterns. And you also said yoga and
Yeah.
meditation, of course, therapy. But could it be, is it other doorways or other ways of, how we can, like, if I now know that this is something this is not really nurturing for me, or this is really bad for me, then the pain, when it gets big enough, I'm motivated to change it. Can I heal things of just becoming aware of them?
I think so. Don't you?
Yeah, I think so too. Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, the body and the heart never lies. So I think that, if we can
Yeah.
trust the process of our inner body, I mean, yes, of course it must be, because if you cut yourself in the finger, and you will see how the blood starts to cut, it starts healing yourself. So of course I think that we heal.
Yeah. I think that the whole idea of that, when you have conscious awareness of something, we talked about this thing with planning and the dog and the vet
Yeah, yeah,
certificate.
yeah,
Remember
yeah.
this? And that's like the typical example of like having conscious awareness that I have this sort of unrealistic fear that something will go wrong and that somehow I wouldn't get this vet certificate for my dog on time so that he could come with us to Sweden. I mean, I know that that's happening. So I have an awareness on it while I'm doing the tasks that I need to do in order to get what I need. But I think that's the step, because if I can see it with a spotlight, if I can see the issue in front of me, then I will be constantly working to remove my attachment to the outcome of that. It's a simplified way of sort of saying it too, because I think for a lot of, I mean, the main issue, I think for me in the beginning, was that I just didn't even know what all these
No.
patterns were. It was literally like a jungle in there with shit.
Yeah, but I feel like this
So
sometimes today too, even though I mean,
yeah, it's like, what, I don't even know. Like, it's just a complete
yeah.
mess, right? So
So where to
yeah.
start?
So I know, right? Where to start? I mean, for us, it's what we started with
Yeah.
AA, right? And I think for a lot of people who are not alcoholics, they start with therapy or yoga. But the most important thing, I think, my point is that most likely it can't just be one thing.
What is it? What do you mean with
Because
that? Most, like the healing can't be just one thing. No.
yeah, if you only do
Mm.
therapy, I mean, okay, fine. There's lots of examples probably where people have gone to therapy only and then they somehow. But for me, in my opinion, is that only therapy can't really remove the deep grooves in your subconscious
Mm.
that are there, like the really deep patterns that you don't even know what they are. And that's where things like brain entrainment and meditation come in, because they are, or even the bodywork thing that we talked
Yeah.
about, body, deep tissue, like
But
memories are
that's what
stuck
I'm
in the
thinking of. But I want
little
to come to
tissues.
that when
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So some issues are so deep in your subconscious that you can't access them, and that's where other tools
Mm.
come in. Meditation, that's what meditation is. Your whole energy calms down in a way where issues that are still there can be singled out. I have this example. There's like a cluttered closet. And with meditation over time, you start like decluttering your closet so that one day you can actually see what's in there. And you find your shirt on the hanger and you're like, oh, here is that pattern. I can see it now. And when you can finally see it, that's when it's like, oh, and I've had moments like that in meditation where you see the pattern and it's like it bubbles up in an image and then you can let it go.
I wish I had more moments like that. I really feel like I wonder what kind of journey I'm on. I really wish I had that closet and that shirt. And it's like, yeah, but sometimes I think I'm in so much
Yeah.
denial in anything. But that's what I want to come into the
Yeah.
physical body. because I think that we're
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
different as persons. And I think I'm not saying that, I mean, of course, certain people can go to a therapist or a psychologist and work through that. But I truly mean from my own experience and also the people I work with, I think that everything is stored in our body. Like
Everything is
yeah,
stored in your body.
and the skin is our biggest organ. So everything is just, it's somewhere there. And
Yeah.
I remember when I was 28 and I was just getting back home from Paris, and I became sober in Sweden. But they offered me if I wanted to be kind of this test rabbits or whatever you want to call it. They had this, the new thing. It became quite big today, but not big enough. But they call it psykomotorisk, alltså psychomotoric treatment. I think it was like this. It was one Norwegian and one Swedish. One was a psychologist and one was a physiotherapist. And they went together
Nice.
and put up. And today they have big schools of this in Denmark. I don't know how big this is in Sweden, but it's still difficult to find work for it. But anywho, it's a body therapist. They call it like that. And I remember when I was there for one of the first or the second time, she was just pushing me on my back, and I got this picture of my brother actually hitting me, and my parents never said anything, but it became so clear that was my closet. And I know that for me, when I do my body work or in yin yoga, for example, or I do my shaking, the Osho meditation, that's when I get my clarity. I think my mind is so, excuse me, but messed up, or so much denial, so I don't see it clear.
No way, dude. Yeah, but I mean, we're actually talking
Yeah,
about the same thing.
but we talk about the
Yeah.
same thing, but
Yeah.
in different entrances, right? Yeah, and
Exactly.
yeah.
And that's what the awakening process is all about. And that's my point with this blog. It's like your access point or your entry point is whatever it is. But it's not, in my experience and all the people that I've talked to, it's usually not enough with just one thing. So like if you only did psychomotoric therapy, it probably in the end you could, for a few years, it wouldn't
No,
be enough.
exactly.
Because it would lead you to something else that would be the next thing on your path that has to help you with your psycho-emotional
Yeah.
evolution. And I think that this is something that I want to bring up now, is that there's like two parts to this. It's like our spiritual self, and then there's our ego self. And it's the ego self that really is holding us back from really seeing the deep spiritual beings that
So
we
what you're
are.
saying is I have a
And that's
huge
just how it
ego.
is. Yeah. We all have huge egos. But it's the ego self that sort of gets stuck in all these things. So it's like, I mean, the work is to figure out how to single out the patterns, whatever causes the ego to be stuck. And that's a lot of work, but that's how, people talk about this thing, spiritual bypassing. For example, so let's say you're only meditating. And yeah, I mean, meditation is like the ultimate tool, in my opinion, and you never have therapy or never sort of sit down and verbalize your issues. Then will you sidestep the deep work that needs to be done? Maybe yes, maybe no, I don't know. The same thing with yoga. If you're only doing yoga, you never actually like consciously look at your own self, like your own ego and your own patterns. Like then what happens after that? So it's like you have to have like, it's like a palette of tools in order to open up the ego, and then the spiritual journey will sort of, it starts going faster because you get rid of the small self. And I guess that's the whole point. So whatever you're using, if it's like your body therapies or the Reiki or the, if you're still doing that with consciousness on that, I'm doing this to like peel my own onion so that I can get closer to my heart. That's all.
No,
Are
but
we
no,
done?
but sometimes I think you're so wise. I think you're so, it's, yeah.
Yeah.
How amazing it would be to just change body and mind for a day. What the learning process.
You mean you want to be me?
No, but I mean, you can put these virtual glasses on. I mean, maybe one day we will be able to enter a different,
Yeah,
who
yeah, yeah,
knows? I
yeah,
think there would be a lot
yeah, yeah,
of
exactly.
wisdom and things to learn about it. But no, but I'm
Well,
really happy we had this discussion of all these different entrances, because I think that's exactly, I try to really always understand things up in my head, and then and I know that
yeah,
I can manipulate my mind so it comes out really the way I want
yeah,
it. But
yeah.
when I'm done in my body, that's where I have my closet, and I can see clearly, okay, this is not really
Hmm,
resonating.
hmm.
But of course, we need to align the body and mind.
So they get overpowered by
Yeah.
your thoughts. I think about that. I was talking to my friend who lives in LA, and Ruthie, she goes swimming in Santa Monica every morning.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And that's a huge entry
Yeah.
point because you are connecting with something really deeply. If everything shifts when you are in nature, when you're really merging with nature in
Mm.
that way, and with the cold and the water, it's super healing. So everything shifts in
Mm.
that moment. So if you have times in your life where you're doing something that like brings your conscious mind, your busy mind, your mind chatter, your monkey mind
Mm.
down, when your thoughts are like you have a moment of pause, like swimming, meditating, body work, all this stuff, right? Yoga. That's when there's an access point to seeing the
Mm.
patterns. And that's what we're talking about here. So whatever that is, and it's the same thing when we talk about awakening moments. We see these things when we calm our
Yeah.
mind. And that's the whole point of calming your mind. Because we want to see what else there
Mm.
is out there. How we want to be connected to our soul. We want to feel connected to the energy of nature. We want to feel connected to the energy of the cold water.
Mm.
I mean, that's who we are. That's our nature as human beings. It's like we want to feel deeply connected to this energy that is around us. And the mind and the thoughts and all these things are in the
Mm.
way. We feel
Yeah.
separated from nature and each other when we're resentful and angry and thinking too much. So that's the carrot,
That's the
right?
carrot.
So how do we make it happen is why we're here today.
I mean, I know we should not say this, but I remember I read this. I have it here because I used it. I used it the other day in my retreat. But what you saying there, I think it's just so clear of what Eckhart Tolle is saying about nature. That we need to connect to nature and listen to the wisdom of the nature to be able to reconnect with ourselves.
It's not just
No,
nature
no,
though.
no. It's not nature, but
Yeah.
nature could be a good help for a lot of people, and
Yeah.
it's very often free.
Yeah, and I think that, but if I didn't get the nature thing for a long time, so I think that whatever it is that you're doing, keep doing it and more. Um, it's only when we sort of get into this sort of like, let's move on, active, go from one thing to another, and the radio's always
Mm.
on, or TV's always on, or we're always working, and something is always happening for us. And then there's no space. Then there's no room for the mind and the soul to really come out because we're living in like the door
Mm.
is shut. So, but again, we started saying this. That's like the pain that we feel when things go to shit is usually the catalyst for these things, and it can be so many things. And I think for us, it's been a lot of
Mm.
different things along the way. It wasn't just that one day when I came into the program, the pain that brought me there. Then there was like 1,000 other things that happened after that that kept me wanting to try to understand why I did the things I did and like to heal these subconscious
But
patterns and
that was
all the
years later, right? You didn't. I mean, were you in the first month and the first year in AA? Were you curious of why you were doing these things, or was it not just about to don't get that shit back to me?
not in the
No.
first year, I think, but we're talking about a
Mm.
period of 25 years now. So there's a lot of shit that happened. But yeah, I mean, early sobriety was
It was about surviving.
depression,
Mm-hmm.
survival and
Mm-hmm.
depression, like
Mm-hmm.
severe, like awful,
I
you know.
remember I had 3 meetings a day for over a year. 3 meetings a day
Yeah,
to just survive, you know?
yeah, yeah. But so then you get through that,
Mm,
hopefully. And then there's
mm.
other things. Like for me, like so depression or codependency or unhealthy relationships or
Healing subconscious patterns. I mean, it's a huge work. We don't have to start with everything. We can pick one little thing, you know, that we think that, okay, listen, this might not be very healthy for me. If there is a
Mhm.
relationship, if there is a bad habit I have, even if it's just, you know, my mind clutter that I have, or being critic or judging too much myself. But I mean, if we could find one little thing and say, okay, you know, this I would like to work on and see how I can heal that. And then when we have that
Mhm.
little success story and having that success
Mhm.
energy in our body, then that will support us having more of the good stuff.
I was thinking about something. The thing that happens with most people is that they identify that there's something going on that they're doing that is a
Mm.
pattern. And then you wake up the next day and you forget that that was what it was. Um, so I think I mean, that was for me for years. Like, I don't know, I did this thing, and I don't remember, you forget. And that's the human condition. So at one point, and this is not too long ago, I was having a really rough time and trying to figure out, there was a lot
Mm.
going on. Anyway, and I was very controlling when I get into like, you know, obsessed manic mode. I'm like trying to control everything.
Mm.
And what I started doing, and this is kind of, I think it's like a basic thing, but I would, the various things were happening and the various things that I was resisting or controlling or resisting and
Yeah.
controlling, I would write them down on a piece of
Mm.
paper. And I learned from Sally that like you can offer
Mm.
these things.
I like burn it and then oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. So I would write down each of the things that I was dealing with, and it was like I think it was the time when we went moved to Sweden for a year, and it was oh bless you,
Sorry.
dear child. Yeah. Um, so it was the time when we moved to Sweden for
Mm.
a year, and everything was just going to shit. It was an awful time. So that's where I started this thing. I would write it down and I would fold it together and I would put it in a little box. I mean, they could talk about this in it's like a God
Mm.
box, whatever. But I remember that the act of writing down what the issue was on a piece of paper, immediately you've actually
Mm.
objectified
Mm.
that and created it into something like an object rather than something that's
Mm.
subjective
Mm.
in your
Mm.
mind. So then there's an awareness because you wrote it down that it's there, and then you can put it away. And sometimes you just forget that you what it was and you put it in the box and you don't remember what it was. But I remember that I would open up the box again and look at what it was. And often the things have been worked on because they have been put into the objective
Wow.
mind, which is the whole
Mm.
point of all the
Mm.
things that we're talking about, like yoga, meditation, everything. It's the point is to bring your
Mm.
patterns
Mm.
out so that you
Mm.
can see them, so they can be an
Mm.
object to look at, and then it can be released. So this was a good, I for me, the God box was a really good tool.
I like that.
Um, and I think it helps us to remember what the
Mm.
issues are. Because that's the thing, we forget. I mean, how many times do we talk about something that we should be
Mm.
doing, or, oh, I shouldn't do that
Mm.
anymore because it's just not good for me, or, and we all do that over and over. But then we
Mm.
forget. And then it's a year later, I'm like, wait, didn't we
Mm.
talk about this a year ago? It's you doing the same thing a year later. I mean, most of the people that I know do that. It's like the same thing.
But they all have a cuckoo memory, like a very short memory, like.
No, but it's not even about a memory. I think that when you're talking about patterns like this, it's it's in the subconscious mind. So we don't know that we're doing it. So I'm saying like doing something like writing it down, bringing it to like when it comes up, writing it down, or all the tools that we can get in order to sort of access a way to calm your mind and see the patterns when they rear and asking yourself like why did I just do that? We all the things that we've talked
I
about.
think that's a very
But don't
no.
stick to one. Don't stick to one
No, but
thing.
I think that's been helping me a lot on my journey of self-healing, because you come in certain circumstances, people are presenting in your life for a reason or another, and you can use them as a tool to be even wiser on yourself. So if there is a person really triggering
Yeah.
something in you, look inside and see why is that triggering inside you, and that will actually transform the energy. And in the end of the day, you would even look at this person and say, wow, pretty nice that you came my way, because now I had this clarity or this awareness for my one of my patterns, for example.
Yeah, but I mean, that's life's journey. Just exactly what you said right there. Everything that comes along, I wouldn't have said this like 10 years ago because then I'd be like, shut the fuck up. That's awful. That's so stupid and corny. I can't believe you just said that. But everything that comes along is a gift.
Rumi is saying that in
There's
his one
certain,
of his poets. Rumi, the
who?
Sofa poet, yeah, he's saying
Yeah,
exactly, like,
yeah,
invite them in.
yeah,
He's
he's
the
the
best.
best. But I would set aside a couple of things that I wouldn't consider to be a gift, like something happened to your child or something like that.
Yeah, but can I stop you there?
Because that,
Because it's not
yeah,
about that things like losing a child, becoming sick, or it's not. I think it's important because it's not a gift. I think the thing is that you can turn everything
yeah,
in to create value out of it. You can become wiser, you
yeah,
can become stronger, and that's what Rumi means. People saying, oh, everything has a meaning. No, definitely not.
no,
But you can create the meaning out of it.
yeah. But what I'm saying is that if we go through life and we have these people or these incidents or these events that we learn from, then over time we learn enough to get to the place where we can see that we are part of something larger than just ourselves, and that there's like an underlying energy that's been guiding us the whole time. But like and the thing that you said, like, okay, now I try to think about like why did this person trigger me? I mean, I think that that's life's journey, asking this thing that happened, why did I do that? How can I do this differently next time? Or this relationship I just had, it was awful. How can I make sure that I don't end up in that place again? So even I look back at this a lot because I had I think I don't know if I've talked about this before, but I had one relationship that was just a disaster. Like we weren't mean or it wasn't abusive. It's just that he was so completely emotionally shut down that I could not function because I got so like codependent to everything because he had no emotion. He didn't show me anything, but we were together, but it was like 2 months, whatever. And it was like I spiraled into like the worst depression because I couldn't function. And so in the end, when I was with this person, I just sat there as a zombie because I felt so unsure or insecure or like unconnected or this was a long time ago. So I mean now I'd be like never even like touch this person with a 10-foot pole. But that relationship taught me so much about myself.
But you couldn't
Like
see that
why?
at the moment. You can see it now. Yeah, exactly.
No. No, but I did pretty soon after. I had a moment when I remember I was like in my car in LA driving to work and we had a weird like we had broken up but we're still friends and blah blah blah. And he was still in my life and then I just had a moment where I like, well, in my car, and back then it was like you didn't have like, any sort of setup. Like it was like it was like 2001 or whatever. And I just picked up my little shitty cell phone and I called him and I was like, we can't be friends. We can't see each other. It's like we can't have any contact. And that I was a moment where I have, you have moments like that. Like, I don't know why it came over me that I just have to call. I hadn't planned to call him and say this, but we had like hung out the night before and I just was like, I cannot take this anymore. I have to like completely cut all contact. So I just picked up my phone. I'm in the car driving down La Cienega and I was like, that's it. We can't be friends. We can't. And he's like, okay, and it was it was like one of the first steps into taking responsibility for myself in relationships. Like, how do I take care of Pernilla? And it was in the same realm of time where I had a therapist in LA where I would go, and it was because of this guy that I started going to therapy because I was such a mess. And I would just sit on our couch and like cry for 2 hours. And I went twice a week, so I cried for 2 hours a week. And she said something that I will never forget, which was, Pernilla, you have to start nurturing yourself as if you were your own mother. So I would start thinking about that. Like I would come home and I'd make myself a cup of tea, blanket on the couch with my Law and Order that I watched like 60 million episodes of Law and Order. How would a mother nurture yourself? How would you do like in relationships like that I had been in? How would your mom do this for you here? Make the best choices. And of course, I didn't know how to make good choices. I never made any good choices, So it was a turning point. And, this is what I'm saying. Like, it was awful, but it still taught
So
me
much.
so
Yeah,
much
but you had
about
to go
myself.
that you had to go through that path to open that door of awareness.
Yeah.
The pain was
And then I started dating James, I think, a year after. And here we are. Been married for 20 years.
Love it, honey.
He's the best.
Honey, we're gonna wrap up.
Okay, are we like, how long have we been babbling now? I can't see because I don't have my glasses on. Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, all right. All right, you put your glasses on. Please don't panic. Take it slowly. Only by slowing down we can heal our...
If you feel overwhelmed right now, I'm sorry.
No, I think slow down. We can only feel and experience things if we slow down. And then I think that we didn't talk about that very much, but I think that if you have a curiosity or an interest of healing, have faith in your process. Things takes time, but I think it's important to trust your body, to trust that you can create values out of each moment.
Be your own nurturing mother.
That's what I'm going to be today.